Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon. So for today, we are going to continue our discussion. Okay. Okay, ako lang i-continue akong discussion sa market entry strategy. So this would be the last topic under chapter 2, market entry strategy. So continuation lang ni siya. So we have our objectives here. So medyo taas gyapon ni ang atong i-discuss. But still, um, hopefully, ato siyang ma-discuss thoroughly in this lecture video. So for this lesson roadmap, we have the objectives, the wholly owned subsidiaries, acquisitions and mergers, greenfield operations, the timing of the entry, and the exit or divestment strategies. So we have what we call investment. We tend to invest into a certain, let's say, a certain market. Well, for divestment is where kanang bitawng imong i-take back ang imong investment or kanang imong ibalik ang imong gi-invest. So what are the possible exit strategies that there are in the foreign market? So for our objectives, again, the objectives for the whole chapter 2, let's focus on this three last parts. Analyzing the wholly owned subsidiaries, comprehend the dynamics of entry strategies, and criticize the exit strategy that are available. So I will be opening up this lecture video with this quote. This is from Mr. Dave Morin. So he said that products should speak for themselves and the marketing should support that. So same lang gyapon sa previous ata. I think mo man ni kagahapon at ang um sa previous na lecture video nga akong i-upload. So I think wala na update. So I apologize for that. So same lang yapon, products again should speak for themselves. They themselves tell their usefulness, their utility to you, and all you need to do as a let's say a marketing agent. So as an entrepreneur, you just need to do um, activities that would support that, such as marketing. So we are on the wholly owned subsidiaries. So a wholly owned subsidiary daw is a company whose common stock is 100% owned by another company. So which is the parent company. So wholly owned subsidiaries. So mura siya nag-branch out. So in compared sa franchising, again lahi man to siya. Lahi ang gamit sa imuhang business mag-operate. So a whole new entity. While wholly owned subsidiaries ay kay mura siya photocopy yun sa imuhang company. May siyang extension or branch sa parent company itself. So, the parent company still owns your company. So, more lang silang nag-expand, nag-copy sa ilahang company to another, let's say, country or another market. So, it directly works under the guidance and decision-making of the parent company. So, under yun ni sila again sa parent company. So, more siya og again, parent then subsidies or no, subsidiary nga mga company. So under sila sa parent. So more iyang mga anak. So let's say anak sa main nga company. So it has its own senior management to control the business operations of the company. However, all the strategic decisions of the group level are been taken by the parent company only. So nagya po ni sila murag own nila nga own nga mura bitaw environment. So own environment, own management. But the only problem is that their decision making, their operation would be based solely. So masyag copy paste sa parent company. So dapat awaton yun nila unsa ang ginahimo sa parent company. Okay. So that is the wholly owned subsidiary. So again, more on copy paste lang yun sila mo. Always sila mo follow what the parent company asked them to, from their operations to their processes and many more, especially when it comes to decision making. Need pa sila mananghid sa main company. So the purpose of making a wholly owned subsidiary is to diversify the business operations of the company and create a separate channel to run it. So, mo dun iyang purpose. That's why mura bitog nag-extend or nag-expand ang isa ka business, let's say, McDonald's. So, si McDonald's nag-expand siya to Philippines. So, iyaha daw gyapon to, siya gyapon ang ga-operate sud ginaawat gyud nila tanan ang process ni McDo sa US and iyang gina-apply sa Philippines. So that's an example of a wholly owned subsidiary. Another example is, let's say, Coke, Coca-Cola. So the main company is in the US. So nag-expand sila to Asia, especially the Philippines. So unsang operations nga ginahimo siguro sa America or sa main company ginaawat pud sa ato ang, let's say, wholly owned subsidiaries here in our country. So mura na siya gina-diversify. So mura gina-spread, gina-expand again ang main company to other nga countries all over the world. So in order to penetrate many global markets, but they have um but they still have kana bitang control, whole control, 100% control over the operations. Kay ilaha man gyapon sila. Mura lang sila again nag branch out to other countries. Since it is 100% holding, all the funds infused in the subsidiary is of the parent company, and they are free to decide about the future prospects as well. So, ang funds daw sa subsidiary, so ila dong funding, their resources came from the parent company itself. So sila, ang parent company mismo ang ga-supply sa ilahang operations, ilahang mga products, ilahang manufacturing ng mga resources, and so on and so forth. So that's why ang parent company yun ang magbuot sa ilahang mga operations, sa decision making that is needed in the subsidiary or wholly owned subsidiary nga companies, especially to future prospects at as well. Kay sila man again ang nag-fund, nag-provide sa resources, and many more. So again, that's why ang parent company gud ang naay hold sa ilaha. So as a wholly owned subsidiary company, the financial results of the same would be combined with the parent company in the annual report of the parent company on the balance sheet date. Okay. As a wholly owned subsidiary daw nga company, they have the same nga annual report. So, more siya gina-collate. So, gina-collate siya again from main company and murag extension company or branch nga companies or wholly owned subsidiaries. So, let's use that one. So, again, ginatapok ra ang ilahang mga reports. Ginaisa into the main company itself. That's why, need yun siya nga i-take over or i-take control sa ato ang parent company. So ownership strategies in the foreign markets can especially take at least duha ka routes. So in order for you to have ownership strategies, especially in the foreign market, na daw kay at least duha ka route to do that. First is to do acquisitions and greenfield operations. So acquisitions is where the multinational companies buys up existing companies. So modo ni ang murag kuan. At least duha daw ka route. Example, gusto ka mo own a company in the foreign market. Gusto ka mag-buy. So there are two ways lang daw to do that. Probably by through acquisitions, mag-buy daw ka og existing nga company, or you start from scratch. That is what we call the greenfield operation. So ikaw mismo ang magtukod sa imuhang own company sa foreign nga market. So let's say you want to penetrate Hong Kong. So it's either mangita ka og existing company nga imong i-buy. So that's why it's called acquisitions, acquire. So imo siyang i-buy mismo. So you buy an existing company, or magpatukod ka og imuhang company mismo from scratch. So wala kay probably partnership or alliances in that foreign market in Hong Kong. Kay gusto man ka nga mo compete pud sa ilaha. So with that, you want to have a startup company. So you start from the bottom. So those are the two routes in order for you to take when you want to own or penetrate a certain market. So wholly owned subsidiaries give the multinational companies full control of their operation. So those wholly owned subsidiaries ng company actually these are sometimes kana bitong ginapalit nga company. So in order for you manggod is let's say ikaw si Coke. So kung ikaw si Coke, nara gyud na sa duha imong himuon, probably mag-buy ka, let's say gusto ka mag-expand to Philippines. So ako man si Coke, so daghan naman kog money. So probably makaya na nako palit og isa ka local company in the Philippines, or magtukod yun ko mismo og isa ka Coke yun nga manufacturing company sa Philippines. Nara sa duha ang pwede nako himuon. So it goes the same with wholly owned subsidiaries. So most of the time kanang let's say si Coke kay iyang gipalit kunuhay local company din ni si Kuan si nakakita siya beverage local company um sa beverages sa Philippines. So let's say si Coke, nakakita siya local company sa beverages. Then, iya siyang gibay. So that means nga kato na din ng company is called the wholly owned subsidiary sa Coke. Kaya iyan naman tong gibay, iyan naman ang siya naman ang gabuot on how to operate or to put up the certain business. So that's what we call them wholly owned subsidiary. It's either they are being purchased or kanang gipatukod yun siya mismo by the parent company. So we have full ownership means that all the profits go to the company. So if let's say imong gibay ang company, gibay nimo tanan iyang stocks. So 100% imong gibay. That means you have the full ownership of the company to control it, and also all the profit will go directly to you. So fully owned enterprises allow the foreign investor to manage and control its own processes and tasks in terms of marketing, production, logistics, and sourcing decisions. So mas advantageous good given nga let's say imo ging gipalit ang whole nga company. So let's say nagbay ka kay ABC Beverage Company kay you want to expand Coke baya. So with that, imong gipalitan na nila stock. So 100%. So with that, you have full control na dayon sa ilang mga processes, sa marketing, production, anything, even decision making. Ikaw na din ang magbuot kay because you are the um, full owner or the parent company. Ana nga ana nga company, let's say nga imo na purchase or what we call the wholly owned subsidiary nga imuhang na purchase. So setting up fully owned subsidiaries also send a strong commitment signal to the local market. So let's say bago ka nga company or ikaw si Coke. So si Coke, bago pa siya sa Philippines. So that means nga imong gipalit diretso ang let's say number one nga beverage maker in the Philippines, si ABC company. So si ABC company imo siyang gipalit diretso, gihimo nimo siya Coke. So with that na maalarma tanan in the local market like hala na imo strong kay nga competitor, international nga competitor nisulod sa ato ang market kay gipalit niya mismo ang number one nato nga beverage producer, si ABC company. So, dili na ta makasukol ani or probably iyan na pong i-dominate ang atoang market. So, that's kana bitong more siya mo signal siya og threat sa other nga local nga market in the given let's say foreign market. So, we have this example like in some markets daw in China, for example, they have wholly owned subsidiaries can be erected much faster than joint ventures with local companies that may consume years of negotiation before their final takeoff. So for China daw, uso daw sa ilang murag startup businesses. So wholly owned subsidiaries, mas uso daw ang magpalit ka mismo og isa ka company. Kana bitang murag ready to operate na nga company imong gusto I'm ready to operate or what we call existing na siya nga company daan. Mas ganahan sila magbayo og existing na kaysa magkuan pa sila collaborate. Kay taas pa man daw kay ang agreement ang joint ventures and alliances kay years pa daw ang negotiation before daw sila nga mag fully operate. Mo daw di sila ganahan. So they tend to not do joint ventures. Di sila ganahan partnership kay hassle, dugay. So may ako no kang paliton diretso, magpait na ko diretso og isa ka company kay ma-afford man ako. So it's much faster and much kanang again convenient for me than to wait for joint ventures nga probably walay klaro, dugay ang negotiation, and so on and so forth. So that's example for China. Again, Kung ikaw ang parent company, then you want to buy a certain company, so they are going to be called the wholly owned subsidiary. Kaya ikaw man ang mismo nag-own ana nga company. So let's say you do acquisitions or nagtukod gid ka mismo imong yung patukod ang whole store from store itself to its manufacturing or producing ng mga plants. So, na siya, that is its advantages. Modo niyang mga advantage. You have full control, ownership, and so on and so forth. And also, again, katong, it sends strong signal. Mas kuan siya, mas, more siya aggressive ang iyahang approach sa local market kay kuan pod biya. Amazing pod biya nga ikaw mismo bago pagi ka sa market then imong gibay ang isa ka certain market. So you must be strong enough to compete. Probably competitive kani siya nga company. So that's for the advantages. Well, we have some disadvantages too. So despite the advantages of at least 100% ownership, many multinational companies are quite reluctant to choose the particular mode of entry. So most of the companies daw gaduha-duha. Kay dili man pud gud basta-basta nga mupalit ka diretso og isa ka company. Kay daghan man gud siya things to consider. So let's say ang performance ana nga company, iyahang nature and so on and so forth. So the risk of full ownership cannot be easily discounted. So dili po daw siya ma-surely get ang imuhang ownership. O dili pud ka makales given nga medyo gasto gud siya og bulto man gud siya nga pag-purchase. So complete ownership means that the parent company will have to carry the full burden of possible losses. Mao pud ni ang problem kay mura man ka gusto mag-expand, mura gusto man ka mo padaghan sa imuhang business. With that, the more the merrier biya. The more the merrier and the more responsibilities you will gain. So the more burden you will possibly have, especially if um most of the time ang good ang companies nga ginabaligya kay katupod biyang pa-bankrupt tayo na. So many losses na had been ay na siya daghan nga losses. So that's another thing to consider. Kay kung gusto ka mo buy biya og company kay dadigid ka sa barato, pero katong mga barato kay daghan pud kay issues, daghan kay sila og mga losses. So madamay pud ang imong company. So again, you really need to choose which company should you buy or not. So developing a foreign presence without the support of a third party is also very demanding on the firm's resources. So in order for you, again, example, nakapenetrate na ka sa market, unya kanang bitaw ikaw ra mismo ni sulod wala kay support sa other party medyo kuan ka siya demanding sa imong time kay you really need to work it out pa kay bago pa biya ka sa market you really need to put your full hands on the wheel if you really want to focus on making your company compete from the certain market kay wala ba kay support ni sulod ra ka diretso sa market nga murag walay kaila sa imuha or wala kay friends. So, more sige nga na. So, it would be very foreign, marag awkward da ani. Uy, di ko kabaloon sa akong himuon. So, probably you would face many challenges good. So, it's very demanding for your especially resources. Kay you really need to compete unya wala kay ka di kay kakabalo sa market. Kay wa man kay support or assistance sa third party. Kay ikaw lagi mismo ang gusto nga mo operate diretso. So, as part of the market-related risk, substantial political risk and economic risk must be factored in. So we have market-related risk. Example, the certain market is very, let's say, basin exhausted na kay ni siya, saturated ng market, gamay na kay kaog, gamay na kay kag market share if musulod ka. So sayang ra imong effort. Substantial political risk. The political risk it will gain probably based on the mostly the like taxes and so on and so forth. So how will that affect your operation in the new foreign markets? Nga puslan nga ikaw ra pud isa, wa kay friend. So lastly, the economic risk. So the government ang ilahang GDP, GNP, how is their performance within the given year? So you need to really factor those nga mga those things you need to consider it when it comes to buying wholly owned subsidiaries. So disadvantages is that companies that enter via a wholly owned enterprise are sometimes also perceived as a threat to the cultural or economic sovereignty of the host country. So again, mura siya threat good na siya always when you enter a certain market, a new market, everyone in the market would consider you as a threat, especially not just in the certain market, but based on their culture, based on their economic sovereignty sa host country. Basin dili kay sila ganahan mo promote og foreign market, kay they want to promote local nga companies instead of you. So mas priority sila. So mao po na ang thing to consider too. Probably masayang ra imong effort, unya dili ti kapansinon kay wa ka gigaan og priorities. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, kanang nag-fluctuate na po ang internet. So again, if bago ka sa isa ka company or sa market, that means nga you are considered as a threat. Kay probably ang imuhang company kay against sa ilang culture or probably ilang company kay they want to promote local. So di kay sila mohatag sa imo og priority kay kuan man ilang ring i-promote ilang local nga companies instead of you. So that's another thing to consider. So we have this example, si NBev daw. NBev, the Brazilian Belgian brewer, made a $46.3 billion unsolicited takeover bid for Anheuser-Busch, the leading American brewer. Several U.S. politicians and journalists were dismayed. Okay, si kuan daw si NBev kay nagbid daw siya sa isa ka American nga company. So Brazilian nga company. Iyang gibay si Anheuser-Busch. With that daghan daw na nadismaya nga mga politician og mga journalists. Mas hindi sila nalain sila kay kuan nganong gibaligya si Anheuser-Busch which is American unta siya nga company sa isa ka Brazilian nga company. So nadismaya ang mga politician og journalist. So that means nga wala din kay support, di na din kay i-promote. So that's another example. Again, kay kuan man ka Brazilian so kay murag imong gipulihan ang number one sa spot which is supposed to be American. So mo din to wala na kay ni support ang mga US politicians and people mga sa media kay di na sila ganahan pud og promote kay kuan man. So let's say nga dili kay sila mo promote og foreign nga mga companies. So that's an example. So we have also this one. So Mr. Barack Obama, the 2008 Democratic presidential candidate and ultimate victor, stated at a press conference in St. Louis headquarters for Anheuser-Busch. I do think it would be a shame if Bud is foreign owned. I think we should be able to find an American company that is interested in purchasing Anheuser-Busch. So that's what he said daw sa isa ka statement. So masyag na dismay. Murag dili ko ganahan murag ako i-translate ha. Dili ko ganahan. So di ko ganahan nga i-own si Anheuser-Busch daw. So let's say AB na lang. Di ko ganahan nga i-own si AB sa isa ka foreign nga company. I want it to be nga American gyapon ang mag-own kay support local ba ta. Murag ni ana si Mr. Barack Obama. So basin di ay mga Amerikano diha nga gusto mo buy aning company. So sayang pud siya kung ato ra siyang ihatag sa foreign nga companies. So that's their mura bitaw ilan yung gi-voice out ilang concern regarding this company or matter. So after Kraft, also another example, after Kraft acquired Cadbury and announced the closure of a Cadbury factory, British parliamentarians accused the company of acting irresponsibly and unwisely. So si Cadbury daw kay edong gibaligya iyang self kay Kraft or gipalit siya ni Kraft. With that, nasuko ang mga British. Kay kuan daw ano nagpapalit pud ka sa mga foreign company. Dapat dili ra ka nagbaligya ka sa imuhang kaugalingon diri lang sa Britain or sa UK para kay daghan man mo palit nganong dadto man gyud ka sa foreign. So dapat diri lang unta kay para kanabitang kuan gyapon continuous gyapon among support sa imuha given nga dili man ka nag-originate dili pud unta ang mag-own sa imuha. So that's what the British parliamentarians said to Cadbury. So na kuan sila di sila ganan sa action na gimo ni Cadbury kay nagpabay siya against sa foreign nga company. So ila ding giingon kay irresponsible daw ang Cadbury ug di daw sila maayo maghimo og decision making. So irresponsible and unwise. So that's another disadvantage. Kung dili again most of the time ang good mo gining kahitabo. Bisag kita man po, di man po ganahan nga, let's say, Del Monte. So, let's assume nga si Del Monte kay kuan daw, Filipino-owned. So, then one day, gipalit siya sa Chinese nga businessman. So, with that, malain ta, kay ang product na to kay made from the Philippines, it should be owned by a Filipino too. So, more siya ingana bitaw. Support local or support our local na businesses. So one way to address the hostility to foreign acquisitions in the host country is via localizing the firms present in the foreign market by hiring local managers, sourcing locally, developing local brands, sponsoring local sports or cultural events, and so forth. So one way daw to address the hostility, di ba hostile naman sila sa imuha given nga gapamalit, let's say ikaw si Coke, so gapamalit ka og kuan mga beverage company all over the world. Then malain yun, dili yun ganahan og tan-aw sa imo ang mga host company. So let's say nagpalit ka sa India, si ABC company sa India. So ga-produce sila beverages, number one. So masuko si Indian government sa imuha. Nga ngano imong paliton si ABC nga amo man ni. Pwede ra man namo ni siya paliton. So murag ilaha kang ikuan, i-condemn daan. So one way daw to address that one is you need to do localizing daw. So dapat ang imo daw present in the foreign markets kay more on imo ba ginapakita nga kuan good man akong intention. I want to penetrate your country in order for me to hire your local people. So source locally, local brands and so on and so forth. So more on dapat imong ipakita pod nga if gusto ka mag-penetrate, ako man pong gamiton imong resources. So more gyud mo siya kanang tabla ra gyapon ta. So mahalinan ra gyapon mo. Dili ra ako atanan ang halin. So let's say sa Coke. So kung mo na din siya sa India nga, ayaw ka bala ka kay mag-expand ko sa India. But ako man kuan sa akong mga factories, mga Indian man ako i-hire para gana ko sila og trabaho. Second kay ang mga ingredients kay sa Indian ako i-source out given nga daghan man mo kuan dira mga ingredients and so on and so forth. So you tend to sponsor, you tend to culture events, you tend to do CSR para mas maganahan pud ang host company sa imuha. Because you need to pay them back bitaw murag their opportunity cost if ever nga ilang ibalig na iyang company sa imuha. So that's why again you need to do localizing. Maghinay-hinay ka get sa ilahang favor. So through CSR, corporate social responsibilities, and many more. So those are for wholly owned subsidiaries. Ikaw mismo ang mutukod sa imuhang business in the foreign market. So next we have acquisitions and mergers. So naaman mo na-remember, ay nadunggan na ni kaganina, acquisitions and mergers. So another, a market entry strategy. So companies such as Heinz and Coca-Cola have built up strong global competitive positions via cleverly planned and finely executed acquisition strategies. So si Heinz daw ug si Coca-Cola, one of the best global competitive nga mga companies all over the world given nga maayo kay like acquisition strategies. Diba? As I said, they tend to buy, they tend to acquire kanang mga local na mga companies. Mo na ilahang goal. Kay para murag again ilahag gyapon ang company but igor sila mo expand from one country to another. So, multinational companies choose acquisition entry to expand globally for a number of reasons. So, daghan daw reason why they tend to buy existing companies daw. When contrasted with greenfield operations, acquisitions provide a rapid means to get access to new markets. So, compared to ikaw mismo ang magtukod og imuhang business, let's say, magtukod kag business sa Australia, di ba gasto kaayo, imagine the cost probably mas dako siya if mas dako imuhang gasto sa magpatukod mismo og isa ka company than to buy an existing company. So that's why mas preferred ang acquisitions kay mas paspas ang imong access to new markets. So acquisitions and mergers. So geographic expansion was a key motivation for Kraft's takeover of Cadbury, the British confectionery maker in 2010. So si Kraft daw, iya yung goal di ay kay itong geographic expansion. So within siguro sa Europe ang iyang expand. So with that, gipalit niya ang any confectionery makers in Britain para wala na siya ilain nga kalaban. So murag na siya kuan, murag para wala kay kalaban, i-friends nimo sila tanan or ipalit nimo sila ay paliton nimo sila tanan para ikaw na din mismo good as one na din mong tanan. Wala na yung mag-away-away. So with the acquisition, Kraft was able to bolster its position in Europe and gain a foothold in India, a market where it is virtually unknown. So with that, di ba naghinay naman siya expand sa Europe. Then as you all know, ubos na sa Europe kay UAE pamanata. Then doon sa UAE is India. So medyo dool-dool ra pod sila geographically speaking. So let's assume that one. So well, they have dominated the European market, they tend to kuan na po din, expand from neighboring nations na din, especially in India. Kay given nga murag bag-o pa gyud daw ni nga business ang Kraft. So in fact, when Kraft introduced Oreo cookies in India in 2011, it used Cadbury instead of Kraft as the umbrella brand. Kay mas ilado man gud daw si Cadbury, that's why mao ang use ni Kraft kay para mas mailhan ug mas mailado si Cadbury. Okay, dili pa man siya again kanang di pa siya famous sa India. So that's an example. So for relative latecomers in an industry, acquisitions are also a viable option to obtain well-established brand names, instant access to distribution outlets, or technology. So let's say na po daw tayo mga latecomer, like mga bag-o pa bitaw, nanubo nga mga business. Then they have a very good business. And they tend to, kaya naman itong late na sila mag-penetrate. So medyo exhausted or saturated na ang market. So with that, mas nidaghan na nun, the more late you are, the more established those current companies are. So mas daghan imong options to pili which one would you buy. Given nga established na sila gamay sa isa ka market and they have very good distribution channels and even technologies too. So mamili na din ka, okay, kay ma-afford naman ako sila tanan, magpili ko which company should I buy. O di ba? Mas nice pod kung late comers daw ka sa isa ka market. So we have another example. So Heineken, I think familiar mo with Heineken, katulad ng green nga murag beer nga sa can. Mo na pinaka-famous or bantayan ninyo mostly. So they have at least 7 billion purchase of the beer operation of FEMSA. So one of the biggest brewers in Mexico. And 2010 was motivated by the firm's desire to revive its fortunes in North America. So si Mr. Heineken daw, nag-buy siya og beer operation sa FEMSA. So si FEMSA pinaka number one brewer daw sa Mexico or tig-produce og beer sa Mexico. So gipalit siya sa Heineken for $7 billion. So in order for them to revive ang ilaha daw kanabitong ilang operation sa North America. So in the 1990s daw, Heineken had lost its position as the top import beer brand in the US to Grupo Modelo's Corona. Okay, so si Heineken de og si Corona ang permi mag-away. I think familiar man si Heineken katong green, si Corona kay katong Corona siya nga beer ha, dili ni katong virus. Katong basta murag lami daw ni Corona. Ingon sila. So dili ko kabalo. Di kay ko tig beer. So let's put that one. So moto ng kuan ang ilang problema grabe daw ang ilang competition sa beer in the US. So mas nilabaw daw si Corona compared to Heineken. So ni number one siya instead to Heineken. So more youthful drinkers prefer the lighter taste and fine lifestyle associated with Corona. Mo daw ni ang murag kanabitang effect sa Corona, mas preferred daw siya especially for those mga younger people kay mas smooth daw ang iyang taste, mas nice daw siya imnon compared to Heineken. So the FEMSA deal bolstered Heineken's competitive position in Latin America, especially in the highly profitable Mexican beer market. So katudang pagbay ni Heineken sa FEMSA, ni balik daw ilang posisyon, especially in the Latin America, given nga kusog daw sila manginom og beer. So as part of the deal, the Dutch brewer also picked up Dos Equis, an American import beer that is becoming increasingly popular among the young American beer drinkers. So with that, di ba, naghihinay-hinay po si Heineken og balik sa iyang position as number one daw nga beer producer. Na po daw sila gi-produce. This is called Dos Equis. So kuwento ko siya kanang sikat kini siya sa Mexican. Hinahinay daw siya kasikat sa mga American. So another competitor for our Corona. So that is an example for acquisition and merger. So more like ikaw mismo bitaw ang mag-buy sa certain nga company. It's either you buy them fully or you merge with them. So mura mo mag-uban, mag-merge, you combine, your companies combine ilang operations, ilang mga distribution channels, ilang processes to again reach a common goal, which is to gain more profit. So we have another example like cash-rich Chinese companies are also trying to gain foothold in the international markets by buying up foreign firms. So Chinese companies, hinahinay po daw sila og pamalit og foreign firms in the international market. So they want to invest and hinahinay og acquire og assets in the foreign market. So the first major such takeover was Lenovo's acquisition of IBM's PC division. So another example daw sa acquisition kay katong si Lenovo, iha daw gipalit si IBM. So for those people nga more familiar sa technology, dili kay ko familiar. So si Lenovo daw iyang gipay si IBM sa iyahang personal computers nga division. I think si IBM kay kuan ni siya, ga-produce sila og mga processors. So correct me if I'm wrong. So iha daw siyang gipalit in order for it to support Lenovo's development and innovation. So expansion via acquisition or mergers carries substantial risk. Yes, that is another thing to consider. Dako po siya risk. Di po ka makapataka og buy again og company or makipag-combine sa ilaha. So differences in the corporate culture of the two companies between managers are often extremely hard to breach. Mo gid yung number one nga thing to consider, especially if foreign market ka. Foreign versus local, medyo mura bitaw siya ang iyang combination kay let's say heterogeneous. Di daw sila magka-mix. Okay, masya na oil og water. So foreign og local nga company, di kay sila mag-mix og ayo. That's another thing to consider. So it's very hard to breach or kanabitang to connect both of their goals. So that's another thing to consider. So one example of a company that has been plagued with corporate culture disease is Alcatel-Lucent. So example daw sa culture disease. So ilang gibutang ang corporate culture disease. Kay lahi-lahi man ta. So si Alcatel-Lucent. Si Alcatel is I think familiar mo ani, especially for those boomers siguro, mga 1990s babies. Kuan siya kanang isa sa mga ga-produce og mobile phone sa una actually. So telecommunication equipment group that resulted from the 2006 merger of Alcatel and Lucent. So nag-collaborate daw si Alcatel ug si Lucent. So nag-merge ang duha ka company given nga same sila nga ga-produce og let's say cellphones. Since its creation, the group has been hampered by cultural differences between the American and French arms. Okay, wa daw sila nagkasinabot kay American o French man ang DI ang ilang corporate culture. So lahi ang culture sa Americans, how they operate and do their processes compared to the French nga mga let's say managers. So wa sila nagkasinabot daw. So Alcatel was a merger that sounded good in a PowerPoint presentation, but there have been a lot of serious integration challenges, including cultural issues that were estimated and still linger. So medyo nagi daw sila kanabitang there's mark daw sila bikil kay di sila magkasinabot siguro. So di sila magka consensus. So with that, there are many challenges in the integration. There are many cultural issues that arise, and so on and so forth. That's why murag wala ni work ang Alcatel-Lucent, then probably ilang gi-dissolve ang ilahang pag-merge. Kay dili man di sila mag-work. Okay, narigi yung mga ingana ay dili gid mo mapugos ang imong kuan if di mo compatible. Char. So more siya ingana, di daw sila compatible because of their cultural differences. So a merger or acquisition bid can also be blocked by antitrust rulings. So if such bid is found to lead to an anti-competitive behavior in the country or certain regions. So pwede po daw siya i-block sa antitrust rulings like kuan. Let's say sa Philippines, bawal daw mamalit og kuan local companies na daw law na. So it gives you kanang bitong i-forbid daw you i-forbid daw ang foreign companies to buy local companies. So, it would lead to anti-competitive behavior in the country or certain regions. Kaya mahadlok sila nga siguro um, kana bitang ma-use lang daw ang mga local nga companies sa kuan foreign companies. So, modo na ilang nabalaka para dili daw murag let's say mas kaman ang atong local nga mga companies ilang gikuan naghimo sila law nga bawal mamalit og mga local business ang mga foreign nga market ay foreign nga companies. So that's an example on how to block acquisitions and mergers. So we have an example here. So in October 2012, the European Commission objected to a merger deal between UPS. So the American Courier Company and TNT is its smaller Dutch rival. So in 2012 daw ang European Commission. So they objected daw sa merger deal between UPS ug TNT. So sa UPS daw ug TNT, so American ug Dutch kay gusto daw sila mag-merge, mag-uban. So si Europe niyon sila nga okay dili ko gusto. Di ko gusto nga mo apil-apil ka mosulod ka diri Mr. America, Mr. US amo ang kuan charmurag nato bitaw. More siya nga na, more siya si let's say si Russia. So si Russia daw dili siya gusto nga mag friend daw si US ug si Ukraine. So mo daw nang murag kuan, murag bitaw objection nga nahitabo between their deal. So gusto man gud unta daw si Ukraine mo apil sa NATO. Pero niya naman si Russia nga dili, di ka pwede mo apil sa NATO. Kung dili kay awayon ti ka. So mo daw na nahitabo. So mo siya lang nahitabo. Ani. So kanidang European Commission, they are responsible for let's say um controlling the acquisitions and mergers of foreign companies or the market entries of foreign companies in their let's say region. So region, let's say the whole Europe itself. So si UPS kay gusto sila magipag-merge ni TNT. So small biya nga Dutch marami to gamay lang nga local nga business si Mr. TNT. So si UPS kay dako nga company. So with that, more dili sila gusto nga maskam, let's say kuan maskam or makurap si Mr. TNT. Kay gamay ra ba siya nga company so basin abusuhon din siya ni UPS. So in order to protect again the local businesses, si EEC, European Commission, di siya mosugot into that merge. So nagkuan siya object sa ilang marriage, charing. Bitaw. So the commission feared that the merged company might lead to a lack of competition for certain routes within the European Union. So they mahadlok daw sila nga there is lack of competition daw. So dili bitaw kayo murag ikuan di ba? I-dominate rather. If mag-uban pa daw ni silang duha, ma-dominate daw nila ang whole market itself and wala sila competition. And kuan pod murag matagak nga ang tanan na dayon nga halin is tipok sa American instead for the European Union. So mo gud ang goal in order for you to kanang bitong ipataas imong GNP or GDP sa inyong certain na country, you need to promote local nga businesses. Kay direct man sa ang halin sa local businesses is direct sa country itself, but compared to foreign companies, mo diretso sila sa foreign companies. So good as kana bitong um more siya halin from overseas, more siya ingan din ang mahitabo. So that's why again they don't want to um wala sila nisugot og acquisition between very big companies and small local companies in order to avoid a lack of competition or kanabitang ilang i-dominate ang market kay sa ila man sa ila man ang halin tanan padulong. So the assets of the acquisition do not always live up to the expectation of the acquiring company. So this is another thing to consider. So not all the assets nga gi-announce kay naadira. So let's say kuan day siya, ang iyang gibutang sa iyahang kuan, iyang gisat sa iyang price, let's say kani nga company. So si ABC company daw kay tag 4 billion. Si 4 billion daw siya. So imo siyang gibay at 4 billion. Then pag check nimo nga kuan day dili ra day maabot og 4 billion given nga daghan day siya damage nga assets or daghan day siya depreciated na nga assets and so on and so forth. So dili siya ga-live up to the expectations sa acquiring company. So medyo mayon din ang si company nga hala lugi day ko ani abi na kog tsada siya nga deal given nga tsada kay ang iyahang gi propose but ang in the end pangit day kay ang iyahang gipangbilin nga mga let's say assets. So, na daw outdated plans, tarnished brand names, or an unmotivated workforce are only a few of the many possible disappointments that the acquiring company could face. So, most of the time, again, probably katudang tarnished brand name. So, murag lain na day kay siya dungog nga company or dili na kay tsadang ilang workforce, pangit kay ilang operation, ilang processes, or there is kanang ilang mga planta kay dili na kayo ga function very well. So that is very disappointing for the company nga nipalit sa ilaha. So the local government might also attach certain conditions to the acquisition or expectations in terms of job creation. So sometimes ang local government ilagay nang i-attach ang kanabitang condition. So before daw ka magpalit dapat kay um, before daw ka mag-sell, so let's say, kani pa daw daan. Before ka mamaligya sa imong company, dapat kay ani daw ang requirement. At least, all of your assets are functioning, dapat ani, and so on and so forth. Second din, kay imo dapat iset na ng expectation sa terms sa imuhang, let's say, sa agreement itself. So, if you buy my company, kani mong makuha. Tsada mo ang performance, tsada mo ang track record, and so on and so forth. So, that's why mo ni amo ang price. So more siya good as you do valuation sa imuhang company. So failure to live up to such expectation could tarnish the image of the MNC in the host country. So if you fail to live up sa expectation, madamage ang imuhang kuan, ang main company, ang parent company sa host country. So let's say imong gipalit nga company kay dili di kay siya tsada og performance. Um let's say sa Coke, nagpalit sila sa ABC company. So si ABC company kay substandard tanan ang iyahang mga let's say raw materials, iyang resources, iyang mga planta, and so on and so forth. So with that, ang quality sa imuhang products nga na-produce kay very low. So with that, murag na ano din silang mo din yung lami sa Coke, lain lagi siya, murag lagi siya Pepsi. Ang ending di ay kay sala dito ni subsidiary. So kato nga si subsidiary company kay wala kay siya nag-perform og maayo or nag-follow sa quality sa main company which is Coke. So gikasaban siya ni Coke nga tungod sa imo nalain akong pangalan kay pangit day kay imong facilities, wala ka nagsaba and so on and so forth. So that's another thing to consider. So in 2005, we have BenQ here. It is a Taiwanese consumer electronic firm. Si BenQ, consumer electronic firm. So they acquired the mobile phone division of Siemens in the hope of creating a leading brand in the category. So, si BenQ daw, naghimo sila phone nga Siemens. I don't know if nakabantay mo ang nga brand name. Wala pa ko kabantay, actually. Siemens daw. So they want to create a leading brand in the atong 2005. But unfortunately daw, a German branch proved to be an albatross for BenQ, which decided to discontinue manufacturing phones in Germany. So na daw isa ka German brand nga kuan kanabitang ni compete with BenQ. So si let's say um una daw isa ka German brand again nilaban siya kay BenQ. So with that wala ilang gid discontinue ang pag-manufacture sa Germany. Kay murag sa Germany mismo again kay naay nitubo nga um naay nitubo nga kuan, naay nitubo nga mobile phone nga producing nga company, electronic firm too. So, okay, hello? Okay, so na okay, in a minute. Okay, so let's continue. So the German branch proved to be an albatross for BenQ. So they decided to discontinue na dayon ang pag-produce sa BenQ sa Germany. Given nga na sila na develop daw nga same nga kanang let's say cellphone sa Germany itself. So this move created a lot of bad feelings among German stakeholders, unions, the government with the suspicion that BenQ only bought the Siemens mobile business for its patent. So, kuan daw, ang German din nga stakeholders, di na din sila ganahan sa BenQ. So, di ba, si BenQ kay Taiwanese nga consumer electronic firm. So, nakipag-work sila sa Simon, which is a German brand. So, with that, after na daw nila nga murag after na daw sa ilang, let's say, na sila licensing agreement. So, nakabalon sila unsaon pag-manufacture sa cellphone. So, nag-discontinue din sila pag-manufacture og phone sa Germany. So, nalain ang mga taga-German. Siyang, halang ano, nag-discontinue man mo. O kuan sa amo, kanang nag-discontinue man mo og og business sa amo or manufacture og cellphone sa amo. So, basin ang inyo rang dengue apas amo kay ang patent namo nga gaan mo og access sa amo ang technology or how we do our phones. Maro kay mo. So, mo din to ilang expression kunuhay sa mga Germans sa let's say sa Taiwanese nga ang company which is BenQ. So, a careful screening and assessment of takeover candidates can avoid a lot of heartburn on the part of the acquiring company. So again, before ka mag-buy, always screen and assess before ka mag-buy sa certain nga company. So in order for you to avoid ka na bitang malain ka or ka na discouragement, disappointments, as part of ikaw mismo ang um, as part of ikaw mismo ang nag-purchase sa business para po di masayang ang imuhang money. So that is the acquisitions and mergers. So nagapuntig advantages and disadvantages nga akong we discuss. So now we are going to discuss the greenfield operation. So what is the greenfield operation? Di ba nan mo enough knowledge ka ganina? We have acquisition and merger, imong i-buy, while for greenfield is ikaw mismo ang magtukod sa imuhang business sa foreign market. So acquisition strategies are not always feasible. So dili po daw siya the only option given in order to penetrate a certain market. And sometimes di daw siya go work. So companies often prefer to enter foreign markets through greenfield operations that are established from scratch. So good as mag-start up ka og tukod sa imong whole company in a certain market. So greenfield operations offer the company more flexibility than acquisitions in areas such as human resources, suppliers, logistics, plant layout, or manufacturing technology. So they offer more flexibility kay um ikaw mismo ang you have the full control over your company. Especially ikaw magbuot sa people you would like to hire, your suppliers, your logistics, your manufacturing, and so on and so forth. So greenfield investment also avoid the cost of integrating the acquisition into the parent company. So ang naka-nice po daw sa greenfield kay pwede daw siya nga mura bitawg stand-alone nga branch nimo. So dili kay siya mosalig sa parent company because they can operate on their own daw. Mga ilan sila og guidance or kanang mo follow lang sila sa let's say objectives or main nga mga processes sa parent company but they still have their own autonomy. So they have autonomy over their operations. Mo po daw naka-nice. So another motivation is the package of goodies. So like tax holidays that most governments sometimes offer to whet the appetite of foreign investors. So they tend to have package of goodies in order to host govern to give to the host government. So more on CSR. So gusto po dapat ka nga magpahumot dapat jud ka always sa host government. So let's say Coke. So nagtukod ka og isa gyud ka um kana bitang Coca-Cola nga store and planta here in the Philippines. So with that, dahan kay kag CSR, gapahumot ka sa host government, kuan ka sa ilang, mara bitaw gasuhol-suhol, gahatag-hatag ka sa ila og mga, let's say, donations or gahatag ka og mga support sa ilang mga operation para pod maganahan sila sa imuha. So a major disadvantage daw kay greenfield operation is that they acquire enormous investment of time and capital. Ang nakapait po sa greenfield, gasto po gyud kay siya. Kaya again, magikan ka og sugod, magtukod ka og building, mag-hire og tawo, needed gyud siya og time and focus in order to really um kanabitang i-plaster gud ang imong company sa certain nga market. So all of the entry modes discussed, greenfield entries are the most risky one. So compared sa other nga entry modes that we had discussed, ang greenfield daw ang pinaka risky. As I said, wala kay lain partner kundi kay imong kaugalingon. So nagsulod-sulod ay nag-enter lang ka sa isa ka market. So kay wala pa kay ka kabalo, wala kay friend. So it's very risky. So more siya good as nag-experiment pa ka. So medyo hadlok pa siya especially for those small pa nga mga businesses nga bago pa nga nag-expand globally. So that is for greenfield operation. Again, nagtukod yung ka og isa ka business sa isa ka country. So the last one, we have timing of entry. So you should also need to time as to kanus a lugar ka mosulod sa isa ka market. So international market entry decisions also cover the timing of entry. So we have a question. So when should the firm enter a foreign market? Kung sa lugar siya mosulod sa isa ka foreign market, given nga na naman kay idea, unsa nga mode of entry you will use, probably through partnership, through probably joint ventures, licensing, franchising, and so on and so forth. So there are many modes na biya. So kung sa lugar ka mosulod, so numerous firms have been hurt badly by entering markets too early. Okay, dili daw good di ay if kuan ka early bird sa isa ka market. Ngano kaya? Ngano kayang kuan? They have been hurt badly daw if they are too early or early bird sila sa isa ka market. So let's have this example. So the Swedish furniture retailer hastily withdrew from Japan after realizing that Japanese consumers were not ready for the concept of self-assembly and preferred the high quality over low prices. Okay, let's say si Swedish furniture daw. So nidiretso siya sulod sa market sa Japan. So with that, namaligya daw siya og mga self-assembly nga mga kana bitang murag ikaw ang mo assemble sa isa ka furniture. So let's say cabinet, murag do it yourself ba DIY nga cabinets. So let's say sila doon nag-introduce sa Japan. The first one to introduce. I had din siya ka-realize nga, hala, dili di ko mo withdraw na lang ko or ma-exit ko aning market kay dili di ganahan ang mga Japanese og mag-assemble sa ilang kaugalingon. Gusto sila og katudang assembled na daan, easy na daw silang life. So with that, ni-withdraw siya sa market. Di na daw siya mong baligya dira. Kay hinay daw ang kuan. Marbitag first na baguhan ang kuan, people, ang consumers. Kay bago pa man sa ila og di pa kay sila mo ila. It's very strange for them. Second, kay dili sila praktikalan or di pa nila ma-afford. And third is probably murag kuan pa sila ang concept, murag new pa silang concept. So it's hard magdugay pa sila nga mo adapt ana nga nga concept which is the self-assembly nga furniture. So one study look at the entry timing patterns for a sample of 19 multinational firms. So mo pud na ang kuan, kung early bird daw ka kay kasi isa ka market, mas lisod daw ka or taas pa daw imuhang kanabitong taas kay ang imuhang process para mo ma-introduce gud ang imuhang products or service sa market. Given nga bag-o pa gyud siya sa ilaha. It's very foreign for them. So marag first time nila, so you need to really heavy ang imuhang marketing. So medyo gasto gyud siya sa imuhang part. So another study daw, the entry timing pattern for a sample of 19 multinational firms. So na daw siya study. They studied a entry timing pattern sa at least 19 ka multi MNCs. So this study develops the concept of near market knowledge. So before daw ka mag-enter sa isa ka market, you need to have a near market knowledge. So what is near market knowledge? So it is defined as the knowledge, both cultural and economic, generated in similar markets in which the MNC already operates. So from the word itself, near market or mura siya same sa market. So let's say ikaw si Swedish nga company. Um ikaw si Swedish nga company. Then nag-operate na ka sa Philippines. So let's say parehas og batasan si Philippines og Japanese. So kay na naman kay murag idea nga hala same raman og buying purchasing power ang mga Filipino ug ang mga Japanese ug same ra pud daw sila og taste basin mo work pud ni sa mga Japanese. So you tend to compare similar markets your company already operates in. So that is the timing of entry. So ayaw din ka mag-realize na okay, ayaw na lang kumusulod if ready na sila to ani nga concept. So a new foreign nga concept. Or probably ayaw ka magsulod if imo pang na-assess. Or na-assess pa nimo siya. Mas nice if na kay agent to middleman there to observe first how their culture works, if feasible pa gyud nga mahalin ang imuhang certain na product, aya ka mo dive into the market itself. So before yun ka mo dive into the water, you need to check first how deep it is, okay? So more siya ingana. Before ka mo dive sa certain market, you must know unsa imuhang needed before you dive into again a certain market. So dapat ready na ka. Kaya basin malumos ka sa tunga-tunga. So we have key findings here. So under the market entry strategies. So the study's key findings daw katong near market nga study are here. So it has an important impact on foreign market entry timing. So based on the timing, so near market knowledge accumulated from successful foreign entries will lead to earlier entry in these similar markets. So if na daw kay enough na knowledge nga na-accumulate, let's say kanang ikapila na ka nag-penetrate og kanang kuan na kay na sa imuha murag ay naanad naman ko ani nga musulod sa let's say bag-o nga kuan country naanad na kog sulod sa kabalo na kung sa akong himuon. So with that knowledge it can really help you to kanabitang to survive or to compete in that certain market. So cultural similarity with the home market is not related to foreign market entry timing. So dili daw na siya related sa entry timing ang cultural similarity with the home markets. So although cultural similarity with the domestic market may matter for initial foreign entry for race, it turns out not to be critical for later entries. So dili daw based po daw sa cultural similarity. Di po daw ka makaingon diretso nga hala kay Asian man ni sila tanan. So probably ganahan po ni sila. So let's say hindi ba ga-operate na ka sa Philippines. Okay, kay ganahan man ang mga Filipino og kaning bitang DIY, basin ganahan pud ang mga Japanese. Pag ando kay di ganahan ang mga Japanese. Di sila same og culture. So you should not generalize because they are not related yun always. So you really need to look into that one. Dili magud again, every country is unique but bad. We have different cultures. So let's say one product works in the Philippines, the other doesn't work in Japan. So marsha ingana. So several economic attractiveness variables matter a great deal. So specifically, countries with wealthier consumers, larger economies, more developed infrastructure, and more easily accessible consumers are likely to be entered earlier. So economic attractiveness kay matters daw a great deal. how good the economy is. So let's say they have very good kanang performance within this year, taas ilang GNP, taas ilang GDP. So with that, probably kuan siya, okay ra kay siya tudlan nga market. Especially kadawit ang countries nga dato kay ilang mga consumer, they are from middle class and above, large ilang economies. So more developed daw ilang mga infrastructure, mas accessible daw ang ilang consumers, taas ilang population. So probably it's okay to enter earlier. Okay, that means nga murag ikaw din ang kana bitang murag mag number one na sa imong position. So you can really make sure sa imong market share and your market position in that given nga market. If ikaw ang maguna, if again there is high economic attractiveness. So next is economic factors are more crucial than cultural factors in entry timing decisions. So mas crucial daw ang economic kaysa cultural nga factors. So number one yun nga thing you need to consider is how well the country is performing based on GDP and GNP and not based on the cultural. Kay mo change man yun na always. So regardless if dili kay sila fund sa imuhang let's say sa imong imong product kay DIY nga furniture. So let's say nga nag-penetrate ka sa Europe. So afford man kay sa mga taga Europe ang imuhang product. So probably they would give it a shot. So kay ma-afford naman po nila, then they are likely to purchase and it would be more successful in Europe DI compared to let's say Japan. So those are the key study key findings based on the study the near market knowledge. So we have lastly the exit strategies or what we call divestment. So di ba investment man tong you putting up your money in certain assets. Well, this one is pulling out all those investment or all those assets. So what are the exit strategies? Kay kabalo naman ka unsaon mo sulod sa market, you should know how to exit. Kay dili man good all the time forever nakadira. Sometimes na may things to consider. Like example, na exhaust na ang market or ni lower ang ilang economy. So probably kung lower ilang economy mas mo lower pod ang imuhang halin. So there are actually many reasons for exit. So companies may have multiple good reasons to pull out their foreign markets, such as the following. So such as the following daw. First is sustained losses. What if di ba ni-enter ka sa market, so you have been operating for 5 years, then nagka-COVID. So pagka-COVID, daghan kay ka og loss. Let's say nga ang imo dayong business is restaurant. So let's say McDonald's. So nagtukod kag McDonald's sa Philippines. So wala may face-to-face ba. So nihina ang iyahang halin. So there are many losses for at least 2 years. So imagine that one. That's why many companies have been gaka-bankrupt or gaka-close down. So difficulty in cracking the market. So probably, di ba nakasulod na ka sa market pero dili kay ka compatible. Galisod ka og let's say compete sa ilaha kay grabe ka competitive ang players in that market. So galisod ka og survive or let's say keep up with them. So the volatility of the certain market as to kana bitang unsa siya ka sure nga makakuan sa imuha maka give back sa imuhang investment, how sure the economy is it fluctuating or not, and so on and so forth. So mulaban pa ba ang economy, pataas pa gyapon ba ang ilahang progress, how kamusta ang ilahang GDP and GNP. So next is premature entry. Probably imong pag-enter kay dili kayo kompleto. So medyo daghan kay kulang-kulang. So with that, probably dili lang sa siguro ka mosulod kay dili pa ka ready to compete in the probably large or foreign na market. Next is the ethical reasons. So probably namoy lain yun nga reason to consider. Like let's say there is cultural incompatibility. So dili day compatible ang imong product sa ilang culture and na kay daghan nga um let's say kanami tong bawal nga ginahimo sa ilahang let's say country. So dahan kay ka red flags. So let's assume that one. Next is intense competition. Again, same ra gyapon sa difficulty in cracking the market. Grabe ka competitive ang players in that or in or ang company in that certain na market. So dili ka keep up sa ilahang um competition. So resource reallocation to probably imong gi-pull out ang imuhang investment or imuhang company in a certain market kay imo siyang ibutang in a more profitable na foreign market. So that's another thing to consider. So you reallocate your resources. So your investment would be put into much use in another, let's say, market nga mas kuan siya, mas profitable. So these are some of the reasons for exiting the certain markets. So, with that reasons, you may automatically, so pwede naman gini mo siya i-exit diretso. So, you may use these reasons to pull out probably losses, cracking the market, volatility, and so on and so forth. So, isa yun naman yun kay mag-exit, igor igid ka magkuan, mag-stop og operation in the foreign market. So, as good as that, you can exit directly. So, wala man po sila kuan, wala man po sila kuan sa imuha ka ng hold. Given nga, kuan, you are an independent, let's say, an independent nga company. So, mas nice gyapon sa ilaha kay, okay, ma-lesser na po ang ato ang competitor here. So that's all for today. Thank you everyone for listening. So if you have any questions, you can message me through my email or my Facebook Messenger. So I hope you had learned many things in this discussion. So thank you everyone and good day.